Time now for Patriots Central. Here's Jeremy Dawson.
Rest in peace, Myra Kraft. Patriots! It's best for you. Patriots! New England, what up?
International show record.
And welcome, ladies and gentlemen, to the second episode of the Patriots Central podcast on Pro Football Central Radio. Today we got a very special show because me, Jeremy Dawson, I have a co-host, and why don't you go ahead and introduce yourself?
Hey, good evening, Jeremy, and I really appreciate the offer to come on and do this with you. My name is Steve Balestriei. For the past 3 years, I've been blogging at patchfans.com. Prior to that, I blogged about the New England Patriots at iSports.com out in the Midwest. And I had a career in the Army and Army Special Forces. I was a Green Beret. And then after that, I worked in the security industry and was an Army contractor. And then prior to that, or just after that, I should say, I was a news reporter. So I have a little bit of background in the news, and I have a lot of background in blogging. And, of course, I have a love for football, so that's how we ended up meeting each other. So I'm very excited to do the show. And what do you say? We jump right into it.
All right, let's get into it. I mean, it's definitely an honor to have an ex-military man on the show. I mean, it's only right, seeing as we're the Patriots radio station. So let's hop into it and talk about Gronk's surgery. You want to give a little bit of details on that?
Well, you know, it seems like that he's obviously going to need a surgery. Right now, you know, it's differing from what we're hearing about how serious this surgery is. And right now, no one really knows. I know Drew Rosenhaus's agent was tweeting out this afternoon that it wasn't a serious surgery that was going to entail. And really, until they do it, we really won't have an idea. Because to someone who had a couple of back surgeries, it's never an easy thing when you're going into someone's spine. Now, you know, there's different, of course, levels of seriousness there. But right now, I would say we're gonna all have to wait and see what the results are when his doctors do the operation. I believe it's the second week of June.
Yeah, definitely. I completely understand what you're saying. I mean, first I was hearing, you know, he's just going to miss a little bit of training camp. Then I was hearing reports late September he'd be back. I mean, we really don't know. I mean, Drew Rosenhaus, he did announce that it wasn't that serious. It was completely different than the last disc surgery that he had. But I mean, any disc surgery, it's not minor. I mean, and of course, as your agent, you're going to downplay the situation. But I mean, it could hopefully we'll get him back by the start of the season. That would be great. Ideal, obviously, but you never know.
No, and you're absolutely correct. And that's where you have to go in, and you have to take it with a grain of salt what they're saying until the doctors go in there and they actually see what they're looking at. I know with mine forced me out of the military after almost 17 and a half years. They went in there, they said, well, we can go in there and clean it up and you'll be as good as new. And when I come out of there, they were like, well, sorry to tell you, but you're done. You know?
Yeah.
And I'm not comparing mine to Gronk's, but you never really know until you get in there. They can do MRIs, they can do all this imaging, but until the doctor goes in there and actually sees what he's looking at. And, you know, it could be a minor thing. Some people have back surgeries and are back to work in 2 to 3 days. You know, they're going to Gronk out because the normal person doesn't play pro football. But, again, we're just going to have to wait and see how it comes out, what the doctors find, and what they announce for a timetable.
Definitely.
But, you know, training camp I'm not concerned with, so to speak. I mean, you always want to see him there, obviously. But, you know, if he's there at the end of the season and healthy for the playoffs, that's the main thing I want to see. And hopefully that's what it's going to be.
Exactly. I was talking about that on Twitter earlier. I mean, a friend of mine, he was saying, you know, we missed Gronk in the second half of last season. Gronk seems to be able to play amazing. Looks like one of the best tight ends to ever play the game in the first half of the regular season. And then at the end, he comes in and he's gone. I mean, And he was just like, if he wants to miss the first half of the season just to be safe, he'd be fine with it. Just come in at the end and help us win the championship. Because, everybody knows the Patriots, they have depth at the position. So, if Gronk needs to sit out a little bit, I'm sure the Patriots will rack up wins without the guy. He's a great piece to have, of course, but I think they can make do.
Exactly. And, the move that they made in the off-season last year now, it seems like a brilliant one when they signed Jake Ballard, who was hurt himself. And they gave Jake Ballard a whole year to heal up. And now, we're hearing Jake Ballard's at OTAs. He's almost all the way back. He's excited to play football again. And while Jake Ballard isn't Gronkowski in the passing game by any stretch of the imagination, he's very good. And he's a very, very good run blocker. So, they're not in dire straits.
Yes.
If he has to sit out the first
Yeah, especially, speaking on Ballard, he's a pretty similar player. He's not exactly Gronk size, but he's a big boy. He's not small at all, and he had a good 2011 season. People tend to think that this Ballard guy's a veteran. He's only been in the league 3 years. He really only had that one big year with New York.
Right.
But
yeah, he got hurt. Yeah, he got hurt in the Super Bowl against the Patriots.
Exactly. We learned how good he was.
Oh yeah, and he caught 38 passes as a rookie, so the guy has some talent. He's big. He's 6'6". He's 275 pounds.
Oh, geez.
He's a big guy. And he doesn't have the speed or breakaway capability that Gronkowski has, but he has a big body. He can get open. He's a good red zone target, and he's a devastating run blocker. So, if he can start the year completely healthy this year, they're going to be in good shape.
Exactly. Just come back at your own time, Gronk, and we'll take you back. And speaking on taking him back, I was even hearing some bogus reports, people saying, they should let him go. It's so early to say this. Give the man some time to recover. I know he's had a couple injuries and stuff, and there's been signs of irresponsibility from the guy, but he's only been a couple of years in the league. Give him a little bit of time to really feel how to play for the Patriots,
Yeah, I think anyone who would talk about getting rid of Rob Gronkowski at this point doesn't really know much about football. The guy has 38 touchdowns in 3 years, and 27 of them are in the red zone. So, and the funny thing is that everyone talks about how he's injury prone, but he hasn't missed a game until 2012.
Yeah.
Now, he did get hurt on that fluke play with his arm on that extra point. He did miss the second half of the AFC Championship game in 2011, although he did play in the Super Bowl. He was hobbled, but he did play. And, the guy he's way too talented to cut bait with at this point. And, Chris Price from WEI wrote a great piece about him. And he was talking about, the way he plays the game, the way he approaches it. He's going to be banged up. And the Patriots do that, when they drafted him. He's not going to have a 12-year career. He's not going to be around like Tony Gonzalez. He's going to be around, if they can get 7 or 8 productive seasons out of him, I think that's probably going to be it.
Exactly. He's a big guy. He's not just a receiver. He's going to get banged up without question. And, if we can get, I was saying, if we can get 4 to 5 years out of him at this point, that's perfect. That's all, that's what we're asking.
Exactly. And, that's another thing. With Jake Ballard in the fold now, Gronk doesn't have to play every snap of the game. They can, they can mix and match those guys, give him a break, and, give him a chance to, catch his breath, so to speak, during a game, and they're not going to lose too much when Ballard's on the field. And, that would go to prolonging his career as well.
This is very true. If Ballard just shows us a couple things, if you show to the New England Patriots that you can do something in the system, they're going to keep you and they're going to keep using you. Players show that time and time again.
Absolutely, and that's the key. And what the Patriots try to do is they bring guys in, and they have an idea where they want to use you, but then they see where your strength lies, and they try to use you in a position where you're going to be playing at your best.
Right.
And that's where I think Ballard will come in, and they still have Human, I can never pronounce.
Oh yeah, Human Manu.
And Daniel Fells. Yeah. And so they are deep at the tight end position.
Yep, and I mean it's going to be a new look for the New England Patriots receiving corps just in general this year. So I mean, if Gronk's got to sit out a little bit, it's not like he's missing out with his boys. He's not like a part of a package that they've had that he needs to be a part of right now. It's a whole new system coming in. So when he's ready, he'll come back and he'll plug in where they need him.
Absolutely. And, Hernandez is still here, and Fells and Human have been in the system now, so they know the system. They're well aware of how the playbook works. And, it's all just getting on the same page with Brady, because ultimately that's what it all comes down to. As long as you have Tom Brady's trust, he's going to throw you the ball, even if it's in tight space. And if you don't have that trust, you can be pretty much wide open, and he won't throw you the football. We've seen that on occasion.
Right. So let's move on to the receivers that we got on the Patriots this year. What are you seeing? What are you liking from them?
Well, so far, I mean, from what we're reading, Dan is starting to get that trust down with Tom Brady.
Right. They've been working together for some time now. I mean, I remember like a month or so ago, pictures were coming out. Them two were training together, so it's great news for them to gel early.
Exactly, and I think Danny Amendola, he has that, he has that skill set, and he has the football IQ where, that's the main thing that he's going to have to learn. He's going to have to learn how to recognize the defense at the line of scrimmage, just like what Welker used to do. And a lot of times, Welker and Brady were on the same sheet of music where, Welker didn't even have to look at Brady. He knew what the defense was going to do, and he could adjust his route accordingly, and Brady knew exactly where he was going to be.
Right, that's the
That's the kind of thing that Amendola is going to have to do. And from the early reports, he seems to be doing it. He seems to be clicking pretty good with Brady. It's still only May. They have a lot of work to do, but, they're off to a good start. And they brought in a couple of veterans.
Mike Jenkins, Donald Jones.
Yeah. Donald Jones, I thought, was a good addition. From what we're reading so far, Michael Jenkins is getting a lion's share of the reps, but that you kind of figured that him being a veteran at this point. If those guys can adapt and integrate themselves into the system, I think, they can carve out a spot for themselves. But I'm really excited about the two rookies.
We speaking on Aaron Dawson and Josh Boyce? Yes.
I think Aaron Dawson this year is going to be a big part of this offense. I think he has the skill set to be a really good red zone target. He has a big body. Some of the things we've been reading about him as well so far in the OTAs, he's making some good catches.
Right.
I see them doing a lot of fade routes to the corner of the end zone with him because of his size. He gives those matchup nightmares. And when you have guys like Gronkowski and Ballard and Hernandez in there, that just gives you so many options in the red zone.
Oh, yeah.
For big body, something they haven't had.
Yeah, we haven't had that in years.
No, although... I'm sorry, go ahead.
I was just going to say, we had Moss, but we had Moss at the end of his career. We got that one amazing year out of him, of course, in 07, but we really haven't had a long guy to be in there.
No, and, they need that one guy that can stretch the field, not only horizontally, but vertically. And, I think Dawson can do that a little bit. I think Josh Boyce eventually will have that. I think he's going to have a higher ceiling in his NFL career, Although I think this year, I think Dawson will have a better rookie season.
Yeah, I'd say Dobson. Dobson is more NFL ready. I mean, Boyce is just he's a crazy talent. Like, he's just all around big, fast. I mean, if he adapts to the NFL, I could see him turning into, not to give him more pressure than he probably already has, but I see a little Des Bryant in him.
That would be nice if
Exactly.
If he has that kind of talent. I mean, that would be nice. I know that some people were going a little overboard with the mainstream media guys, and they were comparing Dawson to Larry Fitzgerald, and we could only hope.
Yeah, exactly. I mean,
that he would be as good as Larry Fitzgerald. However, that's nice company in comparison, I have to say.
Yeah, I mean, we can throw these names out there. You know, people are going to do it. People are going to always make comparisons. I mean, even the rookie TJ Moe, people are saying comparisons to Wes Welker. Honestly, Aaron Dobson probably won't be Fitzgerald. Josh Boyce probably won't be Des Bryant. And TJ Moe probably won't be Wes Welker. But just the fact that you can see glimmers of this in these guys, it's got to give you hope that one of these guys can turn into something special.
Absolutely. And, you know, they're working with Tom Brady, and that's the key. And Brady, you know, if they put the time in and learn the offense inside and out, and, you know, one of the things that Bill Belichick spoke so highly of during the draft process for all these guys was their football IQ and their intelligence. And that's the key, I think, is learning the offense inside and out, knowing what the defense is going to give, what kind of coverage they're in, and being able to adjust on the fly, and knowing that Brady is on the same sheet of music with you. And I think these guys will have a very solid NFL career, because we all know that, you know, the Patriots have won Super Bowls with guys who weren't household names catching the football. And if these guys have the ability that they supposedly possess, then they're going to get the ball thrown in their direction. And the one good thing is that they have a bunch of guys, at least on paper, this offense looks like it should be in very good shape.
Yeah, definitely. I mean, we got the core of the offensive line back. We got a lot of new pieces, but we got a lot of pieces. That's what's big about it, and it's definitely going to be an exciting year for that offense.
Absolutely, because, you know, with so many new faces especially at the wide receiver position, it's going to take a while to get them in sync, I think. And training camp is going to be very, very important for them. And the mini camp coming up in June, training camp, once they put the pads on, these guys are going to have to learn the offense very quick. And you mentioned TJ Moe earlier. You know, when the Patriots drafted him, I had heard some of the, the talk about him being like another Wes Welker. And, you know, I started watching highlights of this guy, and it is, when you look at him, he does kind of remind you of a kind of a stockier Wes Welker.
Right, he's quick.
And he has that kind of, skill set that he could, you know, it all depends on him when they put the pads on. You know, when, if he goes out there and, you know, starts to shine, he could work himself into a position. And, I really liked him. The more I saw of him, and I started watching films of him, the more I liked. And I'm interested to see once training camp starts and when we start going down there every day, what he can bring on the field when he's playing with the big boys.
Yeah, he's definitely going to be something to watch. I mean, and also Mark Harrison, he's another talented young guy that we brought in as an undrafted free agent. He's another receiver. I mean, we definitely have a lot to look out for this offseason. I mean, usually like there's a couple guys you hear, but this year is going to be wild because honestly, I think it's going to be Brady's call at the end of the day. Whoever he starts clicking with, he's going to say that's who's in his offense.
Exactly, and you know, Brady said that in an interview last week with guys from WEEI. You know, he said it's going to take about the middle of training camp to where who he's comfortable with, and that was a very telling statement right there. It's because if he feels comfortable with you and he trusts you, you're going to see the football, and that's a big thing with him. And they have so many new faces. I think it's going to be really fun to watch this year. The competition's going to be fierce. I think even these veterans know. Amendola is pretty much a lock.
Yeah.
You know, I believe the two rookies, Dawson and Boyce, are pretty much locks at this point as well, just because of where they were drafted. But
Certainly.
you know, other than that, the rest of these guys, they're going to have to earn their spot this year, and it's going to be fun to watch. It really is, and I believe that this offense is going to be a lot different in 2013 than we saw in 2012, because with the faces, I think we're going to see the passing game look different. It's going to take a while for it to find its feet, but I think it's going to be fun to watch.
Definitely. Passing game's definitely it's going to take a little bit of time. I mean, I'd say that it's a little bit of convenience that we have the Jets and the Bills to work these guys out on in the beginning of the season.
Yeah, now the Bills have, I was reading today that the Bills have changed their defense again, and they basically changed it. They admitted it's because they fixed Tom Brady twice a year. And
wow.
It'll be interesting to see how the Bills are going to approach things. I know that, you know, they got their new defensive coordinator from the Jets, and he said he's going to mix things up with a mix of 3-4, 4-3. You know, I would imagine we'll see a little 46 defense thrown in there. You know, things we saw with the Jets that worked against the Patriots. Whether or not they have the bodies to pull that off, we'll have to see.
Yeah, definitely. I mean, yeah, the Bills defense still needs some work. I mean, they were in rough shape last year, but I mean, they have the names. They just don't produce. And I mean, we're over here taking their receivers, so hopefully that can show some production for us against them.
Yeah, Brady has always done, traditionally, he's really done well against the Bills.
Yeah.
And it's going to be tough for them to stop them this year because they have a lot of new faces on defense as well. Yeah. So then those first couple of games in the year, you know, you have new faces on both sides. I don't know who has the advantage there. I guess we're going to have to see through training camp, you know, which team is playing better, but it's going to be interesting to watch. The Jets, on the other hand, I thought they did okay in the draft, but I don't know which direction they're going in, because I look at the Jets and I'm not really sure what the plan is, because it nothing seems to match what's going on there. But I admittedly I'm not up on the Jets as much as some of our friends are that down there to do that. But,
I mean, you sound pretty familiar with them. It's looking like a lot of confusion down there.
It is. It's pretty confusing because I was watching them in the draft, and some of their picks didn't really make much sense to me.
Yeah.
But we'll see how it all works out.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, the only AFC team that I'm too worried about creeping up on us this year is the Miami Dolphins. They added some nice pieces. I mean, it all looks nice on paper. We'll see how it works out for them when the games roll around. But I think that they're slowly creeping up.
Exactly. You know, Miami had a pretty good defense last year. I wouldn't say they were a great defense, but they were good. And I like the pieces they added for their offense this year. They brought in Dustin Keller, who's kind of, you know, he was Sanchez's safety valve, and now he'll be Tannehill.
Exactly.
And they brought in Mike Wallace. They re-signed Brian Hartline. I like the moves they made. Hartline now has some weapons at his disposal. You know, we'll have to see how they do it. It's going to be up on Hartline now. The one thing that Dolphins did in the free agency period that kind of was a head scratcher to me, they replaced all their linebackers, and they replaced them with guys who were faster and more athletic, but I'm not really sure they were better than the guys they replaced them from. And I'm anxious to see how that works out.
Yeah, I definitely understand where you're coming from. I mean, the team's good overall. I mean, I definitely still say that New England's got the division, but I mean, I think that it kind of lands on Tannehill's shoulders. If he can come out and be a solid quarterback for them, I mean, with the new pieces that they have, I could see them fighting for a wild card spot in this kind of weak AFC this year.
Absolutely. I could definitely see that. I mean, and like you said, it's all going to go down on Tannehill. I think he has to produce this year. I don't think there's any ifs, ands, or buts. You know, they went out and they got him some weapons, and they re-signed one guy, and They added a couple of other nice pieces in the passing game. They have the pieces in place. It's all going to be up to him this year. You know, they have a pretty good defense to begin with. So I know that I thought losing Sean Smith at corner was a big loss to them, but yeah, that was one guy I liked. During free agency period, I was hoping the Patriots might kick the tires on him, but they weren't interested, so we'll see how it all plays out.
Yeah, I definitely thought I was going to see the Patriots be a little more active with the cornerback position. I mean, we managed to re-sign Talib, which was great, but I mean, we'll address that defense a little bit later. For right now, though, we have a new segment of the show to get to for you guys. We got a mailbag, and we're going to take some questions that we got from the fans and send them off with some answers to you guys. Our first question comes from Zach Lapointe. He asked, Welker not on the team. Do we think Amendola has the talent to put up the numbers like Welker? What are your thoughts, Steve?
That's a great question, Zach. And the easy answer is yes, I do. And I'll give you the $64 question here, or the answer, I should say, to the question, and that is, if you look at Amendola's stats prior to coming to New England, and you look at Walker's stats prior to coming to New England, they're pretty similar. So I don't think there's any doubt that Amendola has the talent. Now, that being said, like we mentioned earlier, Jeremy and I were talking about it earlier, it's going to come down to, you know, him finding that comfort level with Tom Brady.
Definitely.
But to be perfectly honest, I don't want to see Amendola catching 100 passes this year. I would love to see Amendola catch 70, 75 balls and see Brady spread it around and have about 4 guys with 50.
Definitely.
That would be the ideal thing for me, but the answer to the question, I believe, is yes, he does.
Definitely. All right. Well, I mean, my take on it, almost spot on to yours. I mean, Welker, of course, he's had more production than Amendola. Welker has, I think it's been 5 out of his 6 years in New England with over 1,000 yards receiving. I mean, he's racked in over 100 catches over and over for us, and I completely agree. Amendola does not need to catch 100 balls to be considered a successful replacement to Wes Welker. He doesn't even like being called a replacement to Wes Welker, but with so many receiving pieces, I agree. We do not need 100 receptions, because the key stat that Amendola can provide, that Welker provided, is the over 10 yards per catch. As New England, we like to get them first downs. We get chunks of yards on our way to the end zone. Welker, continuously, I think in his time in New England, he averaged over 11 yards per catch. And Amendola last season, even though he only played, I think it was, started 11 games maybe, he managed to get his highest yards per catch, which was 10 point something, but it was over 10 yards per catch, and that's what we need. We want first downs from our inside receiver.
Absolutely. And one other thing that to look for with the Patriots, because they do have so many weapons on offense, will be the yards after catch. And that was a big part of Wes Welker's game with the Patriots, and I think Amendola's numbers will go up there.
Yes.
You know, because I think he's going to see more single coverage. But let's move on. Question 2 from Josh Amato. I'll pass this one to you first, Jeremy. With Talib back and Adrian Wilson signed, is this the year the New England Patriots have a good defense again?
All right, that's definitely an interesting question, to say the least. I mean, if we look at it, in 2011, we were letting up over 400 yards a game. That is unacceptable. 400 yards in one game for our team is amazing. If you're averaging that against us, we definitely have a problem. 2009 was the last time that we were letting up less than 350 yards a game, and 2007 was the last time that we let up less than 300 yards per game in a season, which of course everybody knows was our undefeated year. The thing that's been consistent, though, we haven't let up many points. So I guess you could say we've been a bend but don't break defense, and maybe teams are just racking up the yards to catch up with us because we've been scoring so much. But I don't know. As far as the defense is concerned, though, I would say that this is a breakthrough year, I'd say. It was a great way to form the question. The years, we got Adrian Wilson. I mean, we re-signed Talib. our young defensive backs are a year older. We could definitely make strides, especially with a new offense coming in. We're going to depend a little bit on that defense. To be honest, I think maybe during the first week of the season, we may have more defensive players familiar with the Patriot scheme than we do offensive players, which will be the first time in ages. And so, I mean, ultimately to answer the question, I'd say yes, the New England Patriots have a good defense again.
And I agree with you. I think that re-signing Talib was key because they wanted that continuity in the cornerback position. That's why they re-signed Arrington. And I thought that was extremely important for them to do that. And the one thing that they've been lacking, and, you know, people have been talking about it for the past few years, was that physical, in-the-box safety. And Adrian Wilson is definitely that. I mean, he's huge. The pictures I've seen of him down in Foxborough, and it really doesn't do justice when you see this guy in person. He's 6'3". He's 230 pounds. He looks more like a linebacker than he does a safety. And, you know, he's a guy with a lot of experience. He has 5 Pro Bowls to his credit. And, you know, the one thing they lacked last year was that in-the-box type physical safety that could take on the tight end. And that was a big you know, bone of contention for the Patriots defense. They didn't have that big physical safety that could take on tight ends, and tight ends burn them.
Yeah.
So this was a big signing for them. Whether or not, you know, he has the legs left, that's the only question that has to do with him. I know the Patriots are hoping eventually Tavon Wilson is going to step up into that role. But I think those two pieces weren't the only ones. I think, you know, where they signed Tommy Kelly and Armin Armstead, I always want to put an I in his last name for some reason. You know, those two guys are in the center of the line, and that's one of the things they've also lacked was that interior pass rush. And Tommy Kelly, he's proven he can do that, and he's a big guy. He's about the size of Wilfork.
Yeah, he's huge.
And he can play next to Wilfork. And with Armstead, you know, if they can push that pocket in, that's going to make the pass rush even better from the outside. And, you know, when we're talking about that defense, you know, Chandler Jones and Dawson Hightower, you know, their second year, we're all looking for them to make that big jump.
That's definitely a good point. All right, so let's get on to the next question here. All right, we got from Kyle Maynard. The Patriots draft linebacker Jamie Collins. Could this mean the Pats and Brandon Spikes are parting ways because Brandon Spikes becomes a free agent after this year at the end of his rookie contract?
Well, Kyle, that's a good question. I don't think that drafting Collins had anything to do with Spikes because Collins isn't really a middle linebacker. He's more of an outside linebacker. Although I can see him possibly working his way into the starting lineup at the end of the year or next year, and then sliding either Mayo or Hightower into the middle. And but he does have that skill set. He's a physical freak. I love Spikes' game in the running game because he is just he's a downhill physical player. He gives that intimidation factor in the run game. That's a very good question. I don't know if Spikes and the Patriots are going to part ways. I wouldn't be shocked if they did.
Right.
But I don't think Collins' drafting has anything to do with that.
Right. I mean, definitely. I mean, the whole Jamie Collins signing, you can't really look into that as far as the other defensive players are concerned. I mean, that's typical for the Patriots. We love having multiple linebackers. So if you're a Brandon Spikes fan and that's why you're asking, don't be afraid that signing him is going to kick Brandon Spikes out the door because, like you said, he's not a middle linebacker, but even if he was, I mean, since when do the Patriots not love having two good middle linebackers? We've done it multiple times.
Yeah.
And I mean, with Brandon Spikes getting 92 tackles last year, I don't think we're too eager to throw him out. And I know that he's been holding out of OTAs because he's been asking for that contract. So, I mean, they're working on a deal. Hopefully they can get something done because I don't want to see Brandon Spikes go. He's I think that he's come a long way with the Patriots, and I think that he has a lot more to give them.
Yeah, that could very well be. And they knew Spikes when they drafted him went to the beat of a different drummer, kind of speak. That's kind of his whole thing was he was a little bit different. We've seen that on his Twitter page.
Yeah.
I mean, he's definitely a unique character. Hopefully, he's going to show up for the mini camp. He's going to be in great shape, and maybe add a little extra speed in there. And we'll see how it works out. But I wouldn't worry about, like you said, I wouldn't worry about Spikes' status because they drafted him.
Yeah, certainly.
All right. Moving on to question 4 from Ace Desjardins. And this is to you, Jeremy. Who's going to play outside of Wilfork opposite Chandler Jones?
All right. Well, I mean, first to address this, I mean, opposite of Wilfork, outside of Wilfork, it will be Chandler Jones. I mean, but on the side of Tommy Kelly, we have options. I'm sure Rob Ninkovich is the lead candidate to start off, but this is going to be a very interesting part of camp to watch because we have a lot of depth that could fit into this position opposite of Chandler Jones. I mean, there's Jermaine Cunningham, Michael Buchanan, Justin Francis. I say that those are the 3 leading guys that can move up and take that spot. Right now, if I was to say who's going to be our starter at the start of the season, I'd say Rob Ninkovich. If we're talking week 17, I might have to give it to Jermaine Cunningham, to be honest. I really like what I see from that kid.
Oh, okay. I think he was talking about in the tackle position.
Oh, he
meant outside of Vince Wilfork, opposite Jones. Or maybe he didn't. I'm not sure.
I was thinking opposite of Jones. I was thinking opposite defensive end.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Oh, okay, at the defensive end. Okay.
Well, if he means
I think
if he means inside, yeah, we're gonna go Tommy Kelly here. I mean, the dude, Wilfork and Kelly together, that's gonna plug up holes like no one else in the league.
Yeah, I firmly, totally agree with you on that one because I think that Tommy Kelly will be your starter, I believe, and we'll see what Armstead has to offer. He was pretty highly thought of. I think he was originally slaughtered to be a second-round draft pick coming out of USC before he missed his final season. And then he was pretty productive up in the CFL, so we'll have to see what he can bring to the field. But if he can come in and, give Wilfork or Kelly a breather, and play opposite one or the other, that just speaks of really good depth right there. And I think that's where will be your starter. And like you said, I think Rob Ninkovich is your starter. We'll see what happens during the season. I wouldn't be surprised to see, them move Jamie Collins around a little bit, outside linebacker, maybe put his hand on the ground a little bit at defensive end. We'll have to see where he fits the best.
Certainly, he did play some defensive end in college, so I mean he can do it. He's a little small, but I mean he can play. He's versatile. All right, so next question we got Mike Kane asking if Amendola gets hurt, which I mean it has been a thing with him. We'll shine some light on it. If Amendola gets hurt, who's next in line for the starting slot receiver spot?
That's another good question. You look at the guys that they've added, the veterans. Donald Jones can play a little bit in the slot. I think that, we could even see one of the younger guys like T.J. Moe possibly come in. But who I think we're going to see line up in the slot a lot this year, and that is Aaron Hernandez. I think we're going to see more of Amendola. I believe we'll see Amendola split up wide a lot this year. And I think we're going to see Aaron Hernandez line up a lot in the slot and just create some matchups that are favorable to the Patriots. I firmly believe that this year we're going to see a lot of him.
Aaron Hernandez definitely can play the receiver position. It's been talked about for a while now of him just completely changing positions. He's too big. they should keep running the multiple tight end sets that they do with him. But if we lose somebody like Amendola, it will not surprise me at all. Even if he stays, we're definitely going to see Hernandez playing the slot some. And, I mean, if Amendola goes down, he's going to be out there a lot. And I agree with you, Amendola, he's not a strictly slot receiver. He can get up for balls. I mean, I know during OTAs he caught an awesome ball over Alfonso Denard. So, I mean, we'll see. It's going to be interesting for sure.
Yeah, and I think we'll see a lot of mixing and matching out there in the slot position. Depending on how teams are lining up, I think the Patriots will adjust accordingly, and they'll just go for whatever gives them the better matchups. I think, that's the one thing that strikes me with this new group of receivers is the versatility, and hopefully we'll see that.
Definitely.
Okay, moving on to question 6. I'll pass this one to you first. Michael Quint, with the release of the 2 defensive tackles, are the Patriots looking to add another veteran presence along the D-line?
All right. Well, this was a very convenient question to get for our podcast getting spoken on today because, I mean, the New England Patriots brought in a veteran in defensive tackle Spencer Johnson. Honestly, if I would have first answered this question, I would have said maybe using the word veteran might be a little loose if we're talking defensive tackle, but clearly I was wrong because they did it. I mean, Will Falk and Tommy Kelly are likely going to be the starters, so I thought they might have wanted to go a little younger. I'm surprised that they didn't draft a right away backup, but I mean, it does look like they're definitely interested in signing a new guy, and I mean, Spencer Johnson could get a contract very soon.
Yeah, and I did see that this afternoon. The Patriots love competition in camp, and they have Armstead this year brought in, and they brought in Tommy Kelly. Obviously, they want to limit Kelly and Will Falk snaps to keep them fresh for the end of the season. So it wouldn't shock me to see another guy get brought in, and they might bring in a veteran like Johnson, who can give them that veteran presence and give them like that Gerard Warren 15 snaps a game type play.
Definitely. All right. So we're going to switch this one over to you. We got another Mike. We got Mike Boudreau, who asked, did the Patriots really spend the cap room that was saved from Brady's new contract?
Yeah, I believe they did. I mean, they only have about, I believe I would have to check, but I think there were only about $3 to $4 million under the cap at this point. And they usually save about that much during the season in case they have to sign a veteran, for an emergency type thing. So, yeah, they spend right about to the limit. And, we'll see what they're looking at when they make their cuts at the end of training camp, but they spend right up to it. They made some moves. They didn't get the splashy free agents that we all would love to see, but they got guys who they can plug in, and they filled holes. And re-signing your own free agent sometimes is just as important as going out for those flashy guys.
Exactly. I mean, we got back to leave. People need to understand that was a contract that we needed to work with. We had to give Adrian Wilson a little bit of money. We actually might have underpaid Wilson, but I mean, no one's going to complain about it. I understand that we saved about a little over $7 million in cap this year by doing this with Brady. So I mean, it's definitely great for us. And I mean, if without doing it, we wouldn't have the guys that we have right now. Because like you said, we like to leave some cap left over when we get closer to the season. And, I mean, we might not have guys like Adrian Wilson. We might not have signed Tommy Kelly. So, even though, just because we didn't go out and get any huge names because we didn't sign Mike Wallace or because we didn't sign Sean Smith, I mean, you still need to thank Brady for doing this because it's going to pay off in the end.
Absolutely. And that's what I thought they did what they needed to do this offseason. And like all Patriots fans, we always see those splashy, big names out there, but they don't. A lot of times they don't really fit what they're trying to do. And if they get one or two of those guys, they can't re-sign a lot of, the other role players. So I thought they did a pretty good job. We'll have to see how it all works out. But overall, I give them a pretty solid
Yeah,
offseason.
definitely. I mean, if we're grading it here, I would have liked to see a little bit more offensive line addressed. I probably would have liked to see a defensive tackle drafted, maybe signed another corner. But, we got the safety, so I'm not complaining. I'd give them maybe a B. I'd definitely give them... it was a solid offseason considering that we're not a team who usually goes out and signs tons of big names. We did what we do.
Exactly. So, moving on to our last question of the day and I'll pass this one to you, Jason Maynard. What is the Patriots' biggest weakness this season?
All right. Biggest weakness, it's a bit of a broad question, but I'm going to switch this question up a little bit because the Patriots, they're not a weak team. So, biggest weakness, I'd say the biggest question. And I'll go back to what we were speaking on a lot earlier. My personal, I'd say receivers. Just because, we got the Gronkowski injury. Hernandez has some problems right now himself. Our entire receiving core outside of Julian Edelman is new. We brought in Mike Jenkins from Minnesota, Donald Jones from Buffalo, Amendola from St. Louis. It's definitely going to be the main thing to watch with the New England Patriots. It's going to be receiver. We got four rookies who could easily get some burn. It's going to be up for debate. I'm not going to call it weak because I love the pieces that we grabbed. We lost Welker, who's been the heart of our receiving core for a while now. And we have injuries in the tight end position, which has been another thing, the backbone of us. But the pieces that we brought in, it's amazing, really, if you look at it. Michael Jenkins is, I personally love him because, I like Minnesota, I like Ohio State. He's a great veteran. Donald Jones, we might have lit him up a little while ago, but the past is the past. He's a great player. And then Aaron Dobson and Josh Boyce, I just cannot wait to see them out there. TJ Moe, I know he's doing returns right now, so that's exciting. We brought in Leon Washington. I know he's a running back, but still, he's always been a versatile receiver type. So, it's definitely going to be interesting to watch. So I'm going to say that's our biggest question mark. No weakness.
Okay. And again, Jason, now that's another good question. But, I look at what the Patriots' weaknesses were last year. And one of the biggest ones that stood out was their kick return game. It was abysmal last year. I think they were 24th or 23rd in the league. I'd have to double check that, but they were at the bottom, please. And kick return games, and when you're always starting at the 20 or less than the 20-yard line, it puts a lot of pressure on Tom Brady and the offense. And I thought that signing Leon Washington was a brilliant move. He had his best year in the NFL last year returning kicks, and he averaged nearly 30 yards in return. So the difference between starting at the 20-yard line and the 30-yard line is a lot for this offense because it puts them in a total different frame of mind now, and it lets them bring all their weapons to bear. And I think that was huge. This year, again, I totally agree with you because there's so many question marks in the wide receiver core. That's all going to have to get sorted out between now and September. There's a lot of moving parts. I think Tom Brady is going to have to, he's going to have to work extra hard with these guys and get them all on the same sheet of music. And one of the things that I read yesterday that was encouraging, that Greg Bedard was saying that Tom Brady was being extra patient with the young guys because he knows what's at stake this year. And, they're making mistakes, but that's what you're expected to make mistakes this year, at this point of the year. On defense, I think, the secondary and the pass rush were weaknesses last year, and I think they addressed them.
They addressed them at least on paper. And, as they stand on paper, I think they're a much better defense. We'll have to see if that relates when they, put the pads on and get on the field. But I like what they've done.
Definitely.
And we'll see what happens, in September once they start playing these games for real.
Yeah, that's definitely true. I mean, the return game, it was definitely a weaker point for the Patriots last year. It was basically non-existent, and I agree. Field position where you start your drives it's unbelievably huge. Devin Hester, when he had his amazing year with the Bears and they had that run where they made it to the Super Bowl, they basically did that because of the field position that Devin Hester gave them game in and game out.
Absolutely, and that's the thing that Leon Washington can bring to this team. They were starting at their 18 or 20-yard line, it seemed, every drive last year. And, you're starting deep in your own zone, and it takes you out of your entire offense because the offense is a little more conservative when you're that deep in your zone. If you're starting at the 30-yard line, now you can bring everything to bear, and, that's 10 yards less that your offense has to work. And that's a big difference, and it just changes field position right off the bat. You get one first down, now you're, even if you get stopped after that, you're pinning the other team deep. So, I think it was a great move bringing in Leon Washington. I'm excited to see what he brings to the return game this year, and I think that's going to be a position of strength.
Definitely. It's definitely going to be a huge turnaround. It's Leon Washington, just the name. I've loved Leon Washington for some time now. He's been great for a while, and last year, just thinking we're getting him off of his best season, that's phenomenal. Definitely looking forward to seeing that return game.
Exactly, and he can still catch passes out of the backfield as well. I know that Shane Vereen, the team feels very strongly, in Shane Vereen, where he can take over that Danny Woodhead role, and we saw flashes of that last year, and the team feels like he's ready. But, Washington can chip in with that as well, and he's a guy when he gets in space can hurt another team. And I wouldn't, it wouldn't break my heart in the least to see him catch, 3 or 4 passes a game if he can bust one for a big gainer. It just makes the rest of the offense that much more.
Well, certainly. I like Shane Vereen as much as anybody does, so I want to see him come in and be productive as our third down back. I think he could be great for us, but like you said, if Leon Washington can come in and just catch a couple balls here and there, and then with his ability, there's no reason not to. And the New England Patriots, they've always been somebody who's utilized three or four running backs every year. So, we'll see him out there for some snaps without question.
Absolutely. And, the other thing that Bedard was saying yesterday that I found interesting, that Vereen and Stephen Ridley really beefed up this off-season. They got bigger, they got stronger, and that's a good sign. That means that these guys were working out hard in the off-season, and they're ready to get back to it. And I'm really anxious to see what this running game can do. We didn't touch on much on the offensive line because in OTAs, you're in short.
Yeah, it's hard to judge.
The guys they don't get much work. But they were talking a lot about Marcus Kieran. And, they played him at offensive tackle last year, but this year so far in the OTAs, they've been working him at center. And they said he really beefed up his lower body. His legs are huge now. And they said he's tipping the scale at almost 360. And if you have a guard at 360 pounds, that's just like a road grader. And that's just going to make your running game that much better. When you have a guy inside next to your center that weighs 360, that's just unbelievable. And I wouldn't be surprised if he pushed Dan Conley to be a starter by the end of this year.
Oh, yeah. Wow, that's a bold statement. That'd definitely be something to watch out for. That's what I've been hearing across all different parts of the Patriots camps. I'm hearing that these players are in great shape. I know that the news in New England right now is, like these injuries with our tight ends, but the players who are out there playing right now, they have gotten in great shape. I know Chandler Jones, he put in 10 pounds of muscle. Like, that's gonna be huge for our defense. I know he's excited for having a outstanding sophomore season. Exciting stuff was definitely seen from him. He has some great explosion. I mean, I don't know. I think it's gonna be a very big year for these New England Patriots. A lot of changes. A lot of players who were productive last year, but nothing huge. I think they're gonna come out and have huge years.
Absolutely, and I'm really excited about this defense this year. And I know the defense has been a sore spot for the Patriots the last few years, but they've been putting the pieces together. And this year the secondary has some continuity. We have all 4 starters returning. Although I would imagine Adrian Wilson, at least at the start of the season, would be your strong safety. But with Talib and Dennard back, and then you have Arrington in your slot. They added Logan Ryan, who I think is a much better hand coverage corner than people were giving him credit for. From Rutgers. And just Chandler Jones, like you said, he put on 10 pounds. He's now 270. They said everything I'm hearing about, he looks ripped. He's a guy that they're going to be looking to make that big step in that second year. And same with Dante Hightower, which neither one of them had a bad rookie season. I thought both of them were pretty good. They weren't great, but they had a good rookie season. And I think this year, these guys make that step with the continuity in the secondary. I think where they added a few extra pieces, I think this defense can be very, very good.
I completely agree. I mean, the last time that our defense was really good, I mean, I'd have to say it was 2007, to be completely honest. And I mean, you gotta look at what we had. We had a veteran safety in Rodney Harrison. We had our receivers in Asante Samuel and Ellis Hobbs. I mean, we had the defensive backs, like, we had that all set up perfectly. And now we bring in a veteran. I mean, I'm not saying that Adrian Wilson is Rodney Harrison, but Adrian Wilson's a great safety. I mean, we got Talib back. I'm hearing good things about Rasai Dowling. I mean, I wasn't his biggest fan, I'm going to be honest, before, but I'm hearing that he's coming around and that he's been playing very good. He's completely healthy now. Dennard, he had some off-season problems, but, that's all taken care of until next off-season. He's in full football mode. I mean, definitely, there's a light shining this year on those defensive backs, and I think that they're going to turn up for New England.
Absolutely. And, the one thing about Dowling, it's never been a question about ability for him. It's just being able to stay on the field. I mean, you remember when they drafted him as a rookie, he started his first 2 games, and he played pretty well. It's never been the ability factor with him, and he's a big guy. And that's the thing that they're looking to get bigger in the secondary to be able to challenge, when teams, bring those, you look at the game with the Ravens in the AFC Championship game. They weren't able, once Talib went down, they weren't able to win those one-on-one battles. And, if Dowling is healthy this year, and that's the big if, he can bring a level of physicality and size that Dennard doesn't have, honestly. But, we'll have to see. I mean, that's the one knock on him. He's never been able to stay on the field. We'll have to see. But, the reports are very good from him so far this year. And, I do like the moves they made in the offseason. The continuity in the secondary was big. I thought, by bringing back Talib and Arrington and bringing in Adrian Wilson was a great move, I thought. And if Tavon Wilson works his way in, all the more better. He's learning from a 5-time Pro Bowler, and if he's ready to take that next step, that's great. If he's not, then he can still learn from a good one.
I really think that all he'll do this year is get better. I mean, it's gonna be a fun year to watch. We got new receivers, we got new defenders. It's gonna, all the skill positions in New England, it's gonna be an exciting off season, and I'm excited for it. We're gonna wrap things up here though. That's the end of our show, and since this was your first one, I'm gonna let you take it out.
Well, thank you, Jeremy. It's been a pleasure. It's been a lot of fun, and I look forward to the next one. My name is Steve Balestriei, and
For Jeremy Dawson, thank you for tuning in tonight, and we look forward to seeing you for our next show.
Thanks for tuning in to Patriots Central. For Patriots news, blogs, highlights, and more, log on to ProFootballCentral.com.
This is your boy DJ Booty Crew from Bellevue 101 and 2. Right about now, we got the Perceptionist crew in the house. We about to pick up the world champion New England Patriots, baby. Put your hands up. Put your hands up. Wait a second, man. Put your hands up. All the people, wave your hands round.
Yo, ain't nobody seeing the packs and that's that. Ain't nobody seeing the packs and that's that. Ain't nobody seeing the packs and that's that.
You getting sliced with a razor sharp welcome mat.
Now you can try to get fly, but we got tied. Raw and fool, welcome to the new school. Legendary question everybody wanna know. How to start Balestriei's flow. Weiss is nice, Pernell is hell. Viola ain't phony. Go and check the depth chart, homie. Resources, seize losses. Welcome to the Razor Kids. Step into the fortress. Our game plan's
We stand
flawless.
strong to the finish like Willie McGinnis. With the goal line stand to make your ego diminish.
How embarrassing.
Helmets knocked off by Rodney Harrison. New England Patriots, no other squad is in comparison. All New England fans from Worcester to Winooski. Throw up your hands for an ice cold brewski. Your team is getting hyped and they just wanna rumble on. But much to your dismay is the score on the Jumbotron.
0.
That's one stat in parcels. We sending weak old lines back to the barbells and bench press. Cause none of y'all is comp, son. We run it right past y'all like Bethel Johnson.
Ask Ricky Williams how hits go down here. Oops, look at the Brownies, bound to be found there. Old Paul Payton, so frustrating. Throw another pick to get a standing ovation. Thank you. We'll be taking that one to the